today's session. The first topic, India's persistent water crisis and how climate change could harm its economy. The article discusses India's persistent water crisis and how climate change could harm its economy. It highlights water security as crucial for economic growth because water is required in the primary, secondary, or tertiary sector also. Okay, so it highlights water security as crucial for economic growth. Moody's warn of potential disruption in agriculture and industry due to water shortage, urging better water management practices to be followed under the government guidelines. Current water availability: India per capita water availability is currently 1486 cubic meter, significantly below the set threshold of 1700 cubic meter set by the Minister of Water Resources. This is the present water availability in the country. So the Minister of Water Resources set it at 1700 cubic meter, but at present the per capita availability is 1386 cubic meter. Projected decline: it is projected to decrease further to below 1400 cubic meter by 2030 because the major source of water right now, the underground water table, is falling day by day. So how does water scarcity affects economic growth, disruption in agriculture and industry? Moody's indicate that lack of water could disrupt operation in farm and factories, directly affecting food production and manufacturing sector. Economic impact: the potential rise in food price due to disruption in agricultural productivity could decrease real incomes, as noted by Moody's, impacting economic well-being broadly. Vulnerable industries: industries such as coal-fired power generation and steel production are highly vulnerable to water shortages, which could hamper their operation and output. Threat from the climate change: with forecast of more intense heat wave, the demand for water is expected to increase, further stressing the already critical water supply situation and impacting economic stability. What government initiative exists for water conservation? The Jal Shakti Abhiyan, launched by the Ministry of Water Resources in 2019, focuses on rainwater harvesting and water conservation. Major cities like Delhi, Bangalore, and Mumbai have law mandating rainwater use, but enforcement is lax, and there is no comprehensive data on building equipped with water harvesting structure. So, right now, the most important part is rainwater harvesting, because much of the rainwater just go in west. So the most important requirement for the time being is how to go for harvesting the rainwater, so we can store it for future use. Okay, but there is no such, and all the major buildings are right now, so they don't have such plan, although. Okay. government initiative exists for water conservation. Jal Shakti Abhiyan launched by the Ministry of Water Resources in 2019 focus on rainwater harvesting and water conservation. Major cities like Delhi, Bangalore and Mumbai have law mandating rainwater use, but enforcement is lax. Although law are there, but the enforcement is there is lacuna and there is no comprehensive data on building equipped with the water harvesting structure. So government has a plan that building must have water harvesting structure, but it is not yet being enforced properly. What factor impacting water demand in India? Population growth, the major factor. India's urban population is expected to swell over by 270 million in the next 20 years, increasing competition for water between business and household, because more there is a population growth and there is a urbanization, and both are demanding more water, and so also growing industry and business also need water. There will be competition between the household and the business for water. Industrial expansion, the projected increase in industries such as those generating 70% of the India's future electricity from plant and yet built rises water demand significantly. Inadequate conservation measures, existing law on rainwater harvesting in major cities like Delhi, Bangalore and Mumbai are poorly enforced, leading to underutilization of potential water sources. Then climate change, frequent heat wave increase water uses for cooling and agriculture, accelerating the demand pressures on already scarce water resources. What should be done? Promote water saving technology, adopt technology such as dry cooling and not freshwater cooling in new power plants to reduce the dependency on freshwater resources. Enhance water pricing, adjust water pricing mechanism to reflect the true cost of water, encouraging more responsible usage of helping to preserve critical groundwater supplies. So only option available right now is to take more and more steps to harvest the rainwater and use it for future use. That is a better solution and easy solution. Next topic is the challenges for the leader of opposition in India. The article discusses the significant role of the leader of opposition LOP in Lok Sabha of India, especially after the 2024 general election, which resulted in a large opposition. They explain the conditions required for recognizing the leader of opposition and highlights the challenges and importance of this position in a balanced and effective parliamentary system. So leader of opposition enjoy that cabinet status, and he has a very significant role in the parliamentary system of India. And because in 2024 election the opposition has a substantial majority, and in Congress only alone has the in a position to get the leader of opposition post. Okay. So what are the requirement of leader of opposition? In 1950 order direction 121, this direction requires a party to have at least 10% of the members of the house to be recognized as a parliamentary party and receive certain facility. However, it does not specifically address the recognition of the leader of opposition. Leader of opposition parliament in 1977 defined the LOP as the leader of the largest opposition party recognized by the speaker. The party must be the largest in opposition and meet 10% member threshold. For example, in 2019 Congress with only 52 members did not meet the 10% criteria and thus could not claim the LOP post. The 10th schedule states that all political entities are parties regardless of size, eliminating the group classification. This suggests the need for updates in the LOP Act to align with the 10th Lok Sabha, which recognize all parties irrespective of their number in the house. Then what is the role of the opposition leader in the minister system? Prime Minister in waiting. The leader of opposition is considered the Prime Minister in waiting. They lead an alternative government ready to take over if the current government fails. Shadow cabinet, form a shadow cabinet that mirror the opposition of the actual cabinet members. This helps scrutinize government policy and suggest alternatives. Policy scrutiny, the shadow cabinet critiques the government's action and offer alternative policy. That Erskine may describe this as directing the decision and outlining alternative policies. Communication with the Prime Minister. In the British tradition, the Prime Minister informed the leader of opposition about major policy initiative directly. This maintains an open communication channel. Indian context, although India follows the Westminster system, it does not have a shadow cabinet practice. The role has been mainly statutory since 1977, since it came into operation. The challenges for the leader of opposition in India right now: diverse opposition. The opposition in India is composed of multiple parties with divergent ideology and programs, making unity very difficult. Maintaining unity, the role of the leader of opposition is challenging due to absence of power sharing incentive to maintain unity among the opposition parties. Strong ruling party over the past 10 years, ruling party's large majority and intimidatory posture often overweight the opposition, making it feel helpless. Role of the critics, the traditional role of the opposition is to oppose the government, criticize it, and seek to replace it. But this is challenging without substantial influence. But in 2024 election, there is new dynamics. What is the dynamics? In 2024 general election, result is over. 234 members in the opposition, creating a stronger and more influential opposition. The leader of opposition must capture this new mood and present effective view to influence parliamentary proceedings in the Lok Sabha in particular and parliament in general. So what should be done? Update the LOP Act, align the leader of opposition act with the 10th schedule, recognize all parties regardless of the size, promote opposition unity. The LOP should work to maintain unity among diverse opposition parties, leveraging their collective strength, enhance communication, adopt the British tradition of keeping open communication channels between the Prime Minister and the leader of opposition, learn from history, emulate Jawaharlal Nehru's practice of valuing opposition input and being present during debates to ensure healthy parliamentary democracy. From shadow cabinet, consider forming a shadow cabinet to scrutinize government policy effectively, what is being practiced in the Westminster model of England. Next topic is preserving India's geological heritage. So India's landscapes span from highest peak to coastal plains, showcasing a diverse morphology shaped over billions of years. Various locations features a range of rocks, minerals, unique fossil collections, living scientific origin stories derived from geological interpretations rather than mythology. The article highlights that, unlike the well-established protections for archaeological historical monuments, the cultural heritage sites, India lack specific law or policies dedicated to conserving and preserving geo-heritage sites and geo-relics for future generations. What is significance of the preserving geo-heritage sites? Geo-heritage sites serve as educational space for geological literacy. They help preserve representative examples of India's geological features and events. These sites allow present and future generations to appreciate natural geological laboratories. They provide insight into the evolution of Indian terrain. Then, what are the difficulty in preserving the geological sites in India? Okay, so limited traction and awareness. Geoconservation in India lacks global efforts. Further, there is a widespread lack of awareness concerning important geological sites. For example, the Dhala meteoric impact crater in Shivpuri, Madhya Pradesh, believed to have formed between 1.5 to 2.5 billion years ago, and the Lonar crater of Maharashtra, recently dated to approximately 5,76,000 years old, highlighted geological history that remain relatively unknown. Okay. Impact of development and mining. Many fossil bearing sites have been destroyed due to development and real estate growth. This is further compounded by extensive stone mining activity in India. Lack of specific legislation. Countries such as Canada and China have designated national parks for their geo-heritage sites guided by UNESCO's recommendation and have enacted law to protect and designate these areas. Despite being a signatory, India lacks legislation or policy for conserving its geo-heritage or the geological heritage sites. India has no such provision, although India is a signatory. What are the difficulties in preserving the geological sites in India? So, lack of adequate power. The Geological Survey of India has identified 34 geological sites but lack the authority to enforce preservation measures. For example, in Bharkala, Thiruvananthapuram district, Kerala, overlooking the Arabian Sea, composed of ancient rock identified the GSA as geological heritage sites, was partially demolished by the district administration due to landslide risk. It has been dismantled or demolished. Okay, half-hearted measure by the government. The government withdrew the attempt to establish a national commission for heritage sites originally introduced in the Rajya Sabha for unspecified regions. Similarly, in 2022, the Ministry of Mines drafted a bill aimed at preserving and maintaining geo-heritage sites and geo-relics, but no further steps have been taken since then. Only a bill has been introduced, but no tangible steps have been taken yet. So, what should be the way forward? India's turbulent geological history documented in its rock and landscape and should be regarded as part of our non-cultural heritage. There should be complications of list of all potential geosites across India beyond the 34 already identified by the Geological Survey of India. There is a need to develop legislation for geoconservation model after the Biological Diversity Act of 2002. Okay, the government should create a national geoconservation authority similar to the National Biodiversity Authority, ensuring independent oversight to avoid bureaucratic delay and safeguard the autonomy of researchers and private collectors engaged in academic endeavors. The next is the Andaman. Okay, so Andaman and Nicobar Island strategic and ecological significance. So next topic. So the Indian government must recognize the strategic and ecological significance of the Andaman and Nicobar Island. Strategic significance of Andaman and Nicobar Island for India: forward defense position, crucial presence in the Bay of Bengal and the Andaman Sea, key in monitoring and controlling maritime checkpoints like the Malacca Strait. Then naval power projection act as India's first line of defense against eastern threats, best for projecting naval strength into the eastern Indian Ocean and Ocean Pacific and countering Chinese naval presence. Integrated Military Command hosts the Andaman and Nicobar Command, India's only tri-service theatre command, service as a model for integrated military operation, vital for future conflicts. Exclusive Economic Zone expansion extend India's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf under the United Nations Convention on Law of the Seas. Then maritime trade hub potential development of the Galathea Bay in the Great Nicobar Island, the transshipment port would become a major hub for international maritime trade, rivaling ports like the Singapore port. This is what the Andaman Island. This is Northern Andaman, Middle Andaman, Andaman, and the Little Andaman Island. Nicobar. This is the Car Nicobar, and this is what. So this is the present focus because Government of India want to build massive infrastructure in the Andaman and Nicobar Island. Ecological significance of Andaman and Nicobar Island for India. Biodiversity hotspots, home to over 2,200 species of plants, 2,270 species of birds, and numerous mammals and reptiles. Example, the Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve, which hosts endemic species like the Nicobar megapode. Marine ecosystem example, the coral reef around the Havelock Island, which supported diverse marine species and protect against coastal erosion. Unique fauna, several endemic species of animals and birds. Example, the Narcodam hornbill found only on the Narcodam Island of the Andaman Nicobar group. Critical habitat, important nesting sites for endangered species. Example, the leatherback turtle nest on the beaches of the Great Nicobar Island. Mangrove forest, extensive mangrove coverage, providing vital ecosystem services, ecotourism opportunities, pristine beaches, coral reef, and unique wildlife offer immense ecotourism potential, generates revenue, creates jobs, and boosts the Indian economy. Cultural and anthropological significance, home to indigenous tribes like the Sompen for millennia, preserving their unique culture and way of life is crucial for the island's identity. About the Great Nicobar project, it was introduced in the 1970s for national security in the Indian Ocean region and has gained urgency due to increased Chinese activity in the Bay of Bengal and Indo-Pacific. The rupees 72,000 crore development includes a 35,000 crore transshipment port at the Galathea Bay, a dual-use military civil international airport, a power plant, and a greenfield township overseen by the Andaman and Nicobar Island Integrated Development Corporation, and government has allocated 72,000 crore for this project. Challenges faced by the Andaman and Nicobar Island: environmental versus developmental balance, balancing strategic and economic growth with the protection of unique ecosystem and biodiversity, such as leatherback turtle nesting sites of the Galathea Bay, present significant challenges. Indigenous rights and preservation, development often conflict with the preservation of the culture and right of indigenous tribes like the Jarwach, the Onjes, the Sentinels, risking violations of the protective law. Infrastructure challenge. Okay, then indigenous rights. Okay, then it infrastructure challenge. The remote location, difficult terrain, and seismic activity compliance infrastructure project, including sourcing materials and skilled labor. Then climate vulnerability. The islands susceptible to climate change impact, such as rising sea levels, threaten both infrastructure and indigenous communities, necessitating long-term adaptive strategy. Surveillance deficiencies, inadequate surveillance network over the vast maritime expanse leave critical choke point like the 6-degree channel vulnerable. Way forward, to ensure balanced development in the Andaman and Nicobar Island, several strategic initiatives can be implemented. These includes establishing a center that integrates traditional tribal knowledge with modern science and advanced medicine, sustainable forestry practices, and climate resilient agriculture. Additionally, creating a startup incubator focused on maritime technology and sustainable island development will stimulate innovation and attract investment. Designating specific island as diplomatic and cultural exchange zone for regional cooperation summits, coupled with implementing blockchain technology for transparent resource management, will enhance sustainability and international collaboration. Then SEBI tightens knobs on financial influences. Security and Exchange Board of India, the capital market regulator, which is India's capital market regulator, has asked the brokers and mutual funds to stop using services of unregulated financial influences for marketing and advertising campaign. The issue: the Indian stock market is booming. This is increasing the popularity of the so-called financial influencers who advise on stocks and other related investment through their channels on YouTube and Instagram. These influencers have a large number of followers. So the guidelines for financial influencers: India has 151 million trading accounts, which is a near 4 times jump from 36 million trading accounts in April 2019. According to the guidelines, it will be the responsibility of the regulated entity to ensure individuals with whom it is associated do not break the rules of conduct set by SEBI. These guidelines stipulate avoiding the promise of assured return. Financial influencers engaged in investors' education will be exempted from the new restrictions. Other guidelines: a new criteria has been introduced to decide on stock that can be linked to derivative products such as future and options. With adoption of these guidelines, the total number of stocks eligible for derivative trading will rise marginally. New guidelines have been approved which make changes to de-enlist rules. This could make it easier for companies to exit from the stock exchange. Currently, delisting is carried out by a reverse book building. Companies can now offer shareholders first price per share as an alternative mechanism to delist from the stock exchange. Impact of the prolonged exposure of popular interest to coal mining. Next topic. A survey of 1,200 households conducted by the National Foundation for India reveals that prolonged exposure to the pollutants from the coal mining has caused widespread respiratory and skin disease among mine workers and residents in 6 Indian districts where coal extraction is a major occupation. Finding of the study: prolonged exposure to pollutants from the coal mining has led to widespread respiratory and skin disease among the mine workers and residents in the 6 districts. The affected districts are the Korea and Raigad in Chhattisgarh, Dhanbad and Ramgarh in Jharkhand, and Angul and Jajpur in Odisha. 65% of the surveyed participants reported health issues like chronic bronchitis, asthma, eczema, dermatitis, and fungal infections. So, monthly medical bill per household range from 300 to 1000. Average annual hospitalization expense in Dhamma were highest at 28,461 per household. So, vulnerability: residents closer to coal mines are more vulnerable to health issues. Dharman and Ramgarh reported higher incidence of lungs and skin disease due to more people living near the mines. Economic impact of the transition: the study focused on the just transition for coal mining jobs. Transitioning away from coal is expected to cause significant job losses and economic downturns in coal development regions. Social and economic disparities were noted with varying income levels and irregular wage pattern. Dhanbad and Korea rely solely on coal production, reported lower incomes compared to diversified industrial districts like Angul. Recent trend shows a shift with renewable energy accounting for 71.5% of the new power generation capacity added in the first quarter of the year, while coal share dropped below 50% for the first time since 1960s. And then the next topic is about the India's largest leopard safari. Recently, India's largest leopard safari was inaugurated at the Bonnergatha Biological Park. South India's first and country's largest leopard safari was inaugurated in the Bonnergatha Biological Park by Karnataka. Following Central Zoo Authority's guideline, a 20-hectare area has been fenced with the safari for the safari, and 8 leopards have been released into this open forest area. The Bangargatha is known for its healthy population of free-ranging leopards, making this safari an important addition. The safari, costing 4.5 crore, features undulating terrain with natural rocky outcrops and semi-deciduous forest. The area is secured with a vertical chain-like mesh with the MS sheets. The park often received rescued leopards cub due to increasing human-animal conflict. These cubs will be raised and eventually moved to the leopard safari, allowing visitors to learn from animals, understand the reason for human-animal conflict, and discover way to protect them. A 4-acre section within the safari area has been set apart with a solar fence to help the leopard adjust to their new environment. Several new facilities, including a renovated elephant weighing center, a baby care room at the butterfly park, a children's play area, an entrance arc, electric bogies, and two installations are also inaugurated. The sky walls are also being developed to connect the zoo and the butterfly park. About this park, in 2004, the BBBP was carved out of the Bangarnatha National Park and placed under the Zoo Authority of Karnataka, was declared National Park in 1974. The BBBP consists of 4 divisions: the zoo, the safari, the butterfly park, and the rescue center. The park also encompasses a valley of the Chimpakadam Hills. Then the Risotto project. Recently, South African scientists injected radioactive materials into live rhino horns under a new project to help stop poaching. That Risotto project has been started by South Africa to protect rhinoceros, to protect rhino by making their horns detectable at international border and rendering them useless for human consumption. 20 live rhinos are part of this pilot project. South Africa has the largest population of rhino, but also faces high poaching rate due to demand in Asia for traditional medicine. A small hole is drilled in the horn, radioisotope is inserted into the horn, uh, 11,000 microdarts were sprayed over the horn. Two tiny radioactive chips are placed in the horn, making it detectable at the border posts. The radioactive materials make the horn useless and essentially poisonous for human consumption. Dehorning and poisoning the horn have failed to stop poachers. Radioactive material lasts 5 years on the horn. This method is more cost effective than dehorning every 18 months. The final phase involves proper scientific and ethical aftercare for the rhinos. Follow-up blood samples will be taken to ensure the rhino are protected. Challenges: despite government effort, poaching remains a significant issue. Continued monitoring and adaptation of the project are necessary to ensure long-term success. Then exercise HOPEX. The Indian Air Force Rafale fighter jets are currently in Egypt for the HOPEX exercise HOPEX. The fourth joint exercise between Indian Air Force and the Egyptian Air Force took place in Egypt from June 21st to 26th. This exercise aims to enhance bilateral and regional cooperation, symbolizing the enduring relations between the two nations. Indian-Egypt relation background: India and Egypt established diplomatic relations at the ambassadorial level on August 18, 1947. Collaboration: both nations have collaborated closely in multilateral forums as founding members of the non-alignment movement. In 2022, India and Egypt marked the 75th anniversary of their diplomatic ties, underscoring the depth of their relationship. Then come to the question: critical analyze the impact of Panchayat extension of Scheduled Area Act, PESA Act on tribal governance in India. Discuss the key provisions and challenges in its implementation, suggest measures to enhance its effectiveness in promoting self-governance in tribal areas. The PESA Act is a transformative legislation aimed at empowering tribal communities in India's scheduled area by extending the provisions of the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. This act is designated to ensure greater autonomy and self-governance for these communities. Critical analysis of the impact of PESA on tribal governance. Empowerment of Gram Sabha. The PESA empowers Gram Sabha to make decisions on local matters, thereby fostering self-governance. In Odisha, Gram Sabha have been actively involved in managing local resources and resolving dispute according to traditional practices, which has enhanced community cohesion and governance. Recognition of the customary law. The Act legitimizes the use of a customary law and traditional practices in governance. For example, in Jharkhand, the integration of traditional dispute resolution mechanism has preserved cultural practices and enhanced community-driven justice system. Control over the natural resources. Tribal community have gained rights over minority forest produce and control over local resources. For example, in Chhattisgarh, tribal community manage the benefit economically from minor forest produce like the tendu leaves, significantly boosting their incomes. Social justice and inclusivity. PESA ensures representation of scheduled caste tribes in the local governance. Negative impact. Erosion of traditional governance structure. The introduction of the statutory panchayat system often displaces traditional tribal governance structure, eroding long-standing customary practices and leadership roles. For instance, in some tribal area, traditional village council, the Gram Panchayat, have been sidelined or replaced, leading to the loss of cultural heritage and traditional conflict resolution mechanism once the PESA Act came into being. Social fragmentation. The implementation of the PESA Act at times lead to social fragmentation within the tribal community over decision making, as new administrative roles and responsibility can foster competition and rivalry, because tribal society are there having their own tribal headman. But once the PESA Act came into being, so this is being democratically followed. So the tribal headman's role has been come in conflict with the elected representatives. Increased bureaucratic interference. Despite the intended autonomy, the actual implementation of the PESA involves increased oversight and interference from state and central bureaucracy, has led to a culture of dependency, further undermining local autonomy. Lack of tailored development approach. The uniform application of the PESA across diverse tribal regions fails to account for unique cultural, social and economic context of different tribes, leading to ineffective governance and development outcomes. For instance, a one-size-fits-all approach to development under the PESA does not accommodate the specific needs and priorities of distinct tribal groups, resulting in programs and policy that do not align with the local realities. Key provisions of the PESA Act. Recognition of the Gram Sabha. Empowers Gram Sabha to manage local affairs according to their customs and traditions. Consultations on land acquisition. Requires consultation with the Gram Sabha before any land acquisition or resettlement. For example, in Chhattisgarh, community consent is mandatory before acquiring land for projects, ensuring that tribal interests are considered. Control over natural resources. Grant Gram Sabha ownership right over the minor forest produce and control over the management of water bodies and minor minerals. For instance, the tribal in Chhattisgarh manage and sell forest product like the tendu leaves, enhancing their economic well-being. Regulation of the market and money lending. Allow Gram Sabha to regulate local market and control money lending practices. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, Gram Sabha regulate market to ensure fair prices for tribal produce and protect against exploitation by the middlemen. Challenges in implementation. Inadequate administrative and fiscal empowerment. States have not fully developed administrative and fiscal power to panchayats. For instance, Jharkhand and Odisha lack the necessary rules for effective PESA implementation, limiting the Act's operationalization. Conflict with the other law. PESA's provision often conflict with other law, catering legal ambiguities. For instance, a mining company operating in a scheduled area might comply with national law that mandate certain procedures for acquiring land or conducting mining activity, but these procedures may not align with the PESA requirement for tribal consent and involvement. A limited awareness and capacity. There is a significant lack of awareness and capacity among tribal communities and officials about the PESA provisions. For instance, many Gram Sabha are unaware of their rights and powers under the PESA, leading to underutilization of the Act's potential. Interference from the external agency including the Forest Department and the state authorities often undermine the autonomy of the Gram Sabha. For example, in Madhya Pradesh, the Forest Department's control over the forest resources has limited the effective functioning of the Gram Sabha, reducing their autonomy. Measures to enhance effectiveness: capacity building and awareness program. Conduct regular training and awareness program for Gram Sabha members and local officials. For instance, the NGO and civil society organizations can educate tribal community about their rights under the PESA Act. Harmonization of law: align PESA with other national and state law to remove legal ambiguities. For instance, clear guidelines and frameworks should ensure that PESA provisions take precedence in scheduled areas. Strengthening administrative and fiscal power: devolve greater administrative and fiscal power to Panchayat to enhance their autonomy. For instance, the Balwant Rai Mehta Committee and the Ashok Mehta Committee in India have recommended strengthening Panchayat to ensure effective local governance, reducing external interference, limit the interference of external agency in Gram Sabha's functioning. For instance, establish protocol to ensure that Gram Sabha autonomy is respected by state authority and other departments. In conclusion, the PESA Act holds significant potential for promoting self-governance and empowering tribal community in India. However, its success depends on effective implementation, increased awareness, and alignment with other legal frameworks. By addressing these challenges and strengthening the provision of the PESA Act, India can ensure that tribal community achieve true self-governance and sustainable development. So, keep on watching regularly the developments being discussed here to update yourself. Thank you.